Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the Flying Doghouse. It's Fly Day Friday. There's every day that ends in a Y is a fly day. We're going to have a spin in the Carenado C-170B. And we're going to take off from Piedmont Triad International, KGSO. Let's jump over to the sim. All right, here we are. Good old KGSO. So actually, the first time I got to fly an airplane was out of this airport. And we're going to use the same runway. So I'm going to take a little bit of a nostalgia trip. I was in a Cessna, but not in a Cessna 170B. It was probably a good thing. All right, so this is the Carenado aircraft. It's been in the sim forever. And you might not have given it a look. But it's a lot of fun to fly. And it has some very unique characteristics to it. Let's jump in the cockpit here. Okay, here we go. Back in the cockpit. Just a few things to kind of point out about the layout and such. So, very traditional analog cockpit here, very retro. Carenado's obviously done their dust and wear and tear and dirt magic in the interior. All the nice textures for the upholstery in the aircraft, very well done. And they've included some niceties as well, right? The ability to cut on and cut off the GPS here. So let's pop up the tablet. Okay, so the static elements that we were looking at outside the aircraft are turned off using the tablet. So we'll go ahead and get rid of those. And I'll just quickly jump back outside the airplane. So they're gone. All right, and we don't have any ground crew in the vicinity, so that's good. So the other thing I would point out quickly about the tablet, and then we'll close it and put it back in the side pocket, is that the tablet does give you access to 3 sort of pre-configured states for the aircraft for you to be able to start your workflow process as you desire. So cold and dark, ready for taxi, ready for takeoff. We'll use cold and dark start. And we are going to close the tablet. We're good. Okay, so that's going to leave us with configuring the aircraft for startup and for flight. Oh, excuse me. One of the things that I would mention briefly, I guess, about the aircraft and your point of view for your eye. Really, the only thing that is odd is the fuel selector, and it's down here between the seat. And it's easy enough to get to it with the mouse, so it's currently set to both, which is actually where we want it. So there's right, there's both, there's left, and then there's off. So I'm going to put it the fuel selector, easy for me to say, to both. All right, and then we've got some other things that we need to take care of and tidy up here. So, all right, so next up, we need to cut the beacon lights on and the battery on. That'll let people know that we are getting ready to start doing some things in the aircraft. I'm going to crack the throttle. We also need to take the mixture to full rich. There we go. And if you've got hardware controls to do that, that's great. Okay, so we have mixture set appropriately. We've got our parking brake is on based on my hardware settings, so that's good for me. Beacon light is on. Magnetos need to go to both. Right, so the old car key. All right, so we'll put the magnetos over to the both position. And with our mixture set to lean and the magnetos on and the fuel being open, we should be able to start the aircraft now and get a good start. So we'll take a peek around here, make sure that ground crew folks haven't wandered up, and they haven't, so we're good. Clear prop. And we'll press the starter button here. And we should get an engine. And we do. Alright, we'll go ahead and get the rest of our lights turned on here. Get ready to taxi. So, taxi lights on. Navigation lights on. We'll cut the radios on. Carb heat can come on. And our flaps need to be deployed to 10% for takeoff. We're going to take off on, I believe, yeah, runway 32. So we're going to take off on runway 32. And we'll have a fly. We'll come in and we'll make a nice landing here. The winds are currently set to calm. We just had a hurricane move through the Carolinas, so we're not using live weather today. It's still, even though the precipitation has stopped, it's still quite windy. It's a blustery day out there, so we'll leave live weather flying to another day. Cut on live weather, we won't be able to take off. And then I think what we're going to do is we're going to make a couple of approaches over on runway 23 right. So it's 8,993 feet. But I do want to kind of walk through a few things to be aware of with the 170B. Okay. No time like the present. Take our parking brake off. And we will start our taxi. Work our way around this business jet that's parked here in front of us. Looks like we got some folks waiting on a charter flight over here. And there's another little Cessna. All right, we'll make our way over to runway 32. And we will just assume that we have gotten clearance from ground to make our taxi and hold short. We will swing the aircraft that way. So this really is one of my favorite places to fly in and out of in the sim, because again, this is the first place I have the opportunity to take off and land. And what an incredible experience it was. We'll make our way down here. So this is the payware version of KGSO. I picked this one up, I think, in the Marketpalce. There are also plenty of sceneries out there available for lots of different airports in the world over on Flightsim.to. Well, sometimes you don't have to spend any money to have a lot of fun. Or you can spend a little bit of money and make a donation to the developer, support them, support their work, and their give back to the sim community. And we're going to hold short, and we'll pause for just a second. And yes, we have gotten clearance from the tower to take off. We are clear to take off on runway 32. So we'll make our way on to the active. Quick safety check here. There are ourselves lined up here on the center line. Yeah, and I hit the brakes too hard. So yeah, so that was another thing I was going to point out to everyone, is that the brakes on this 170B are extremely sensitive. So you do need to be mindful as you apply them as you are operating the aircraft on the ground. So don't be like me and almost tip it over. All right, here we go. And airspeed is alive. And up we shall go. And get the airplane trimmed out here. I'll maintain runway heading here for a minute or three. We are going to be crossing over the top of 05 and 23. 05 left, 23 right. 8,993 feet runway. Major commercial operations here. Boom Aviation has a facility here as they are developing that particular aircraft, and also Honda Jet has a presence here at this airport. It's quite active. And the airport has grown considerably. So in addition to my time flying in and out here is in a general aviation way, I also, while I was in college/university, I was also an employee of an airline that was based out of here. Well, I got to see the operations perspective of, what it takes to run an airline. So it was quite interesting. And we got to do a variety of different jobs. Oh, it was fascinating stuff. All right, so we'll turn out here and make our way out away from the airfield here. And we can jump outside the aircraft and take a peek. Yeah, there we go. And we can get rid of our flaps. Might get a little bit better performance out of the aircraft that way. Okay, so we'll be making our way back over to the airport here in just a minute. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn and make a sort of a low-level run down runway 23 right. Jump back on the plane. Okay. So really, the name of the game with this particular airplane is speed management. You know what? Why don't we do this? Just before we make our way over to 23 right, let's get some altitude here. Give you some insight in terms of what the stall characteristics of this actually looks and feels like. So when this aircraft model stalls, it does drop a wing, but it's not really all that angry about it. I'll just put it that way. I guess if you're hard-headed, you could get yourself into some problems. And we're not going to be hard-headed. All right, so we're at 2,700 feet. A little bit higher before we start with some shenanigans. And I use a little nav map, so I've got winds at 278 to 30. It's shifting all over the place, anywhere between 2 and 4 knots. It's a little bubbly today. I'm going to use flow. If you don't have flow, you need to go get it. I'll switch our weather here to calm skies. So it does a number of different kinds of things for you. Makes it easy to make changes to the config in the sim that's not always easily accessible when you're trying to operate the aircraft. So anyway, Flow from Parallel 42. Not a sponsor. I'm just a paying customer. And it's a great piece of kit. Okay, so we're at 3,500 feet here. Alright, so I'm going to pull back on the stick here. And we'll maintain our level. And we'll keep applying our pressure here. We're about to stall speed. There's the stall warning. We'll continue to hold. And there you go. It pretty much dropped straight down. So it doesn't really try to kill you. But hopefully that gives you some insight in terms of what that experience is like. And we'll turn and make our way back over toward the airfield. In the meantime, we'll need to be dropping some altitude. Okay, there we go. So this is Greensboro and also then a little town called Oak Ridge. So it's mixed use here. So there's retail and there's industrial and residential. A few golf courses kind of scattered out and about. But the runway that we're going to track down here is relatively new. It was built quite a few years after I was no longer employed at the airport. There's been quite a bit of investment here. Actually, most of this runway was either woods or part of a now non-existent road, and there was a hotel located fairly near where the runway is, which was bulldozed and removed. So getting to the airport back in the day was down a little 2-lane country road. There was not, 4-lane with a clover leaf in 2 places around the airport. Anyway, a significant amount of economic development here. I guess the other thing I'd mention about, you know, flying in and out of the out of this particular airport, there are a lot of general aviation airfields that are here, and there's a particular airfield that's available out on Flightsim.to. It's called Air Harbor, so it's cute and well done. And I had the opportunity to fly in and out of that particular airfield as well. So it's very small. And for us student pilots, we referred to it as Scare Harbor instead of Air Harbor. Of course, I guess, you know, anything when you're first doing this is scary. All right, so one of the things you are going to absolutely want to make sure that you do is to get the aircraft slowed up. And we're just going to make a pass here, so I am still too hot. The glide speed should be somewhere in the 70 to 75 mile an hour neighborhood. We're currently at 83. And once you get yourself down over the threshold and start preparing for your landing, you're going to want to continue to bleed speed off until you get down to the mid-50s mark. And you really don't want to get the aircraft any slower than about 49. At 48, I think the stall warning does go off. So I'm just going to take my time here and just kind of offer up a tip, you know, for you guys. Is practice flying down the runway low and slow in the aircraft, because that's what you're going to have to do to successfully land this. And you're also going to want to maintain a consistent angle of attack. I have found at about 8 degrees, so there's a stall warning. And I'm going to go ahead and add power, and I'm not going to land on this particular trip. But you're going to want to operate the aircraft. You don't want to do a 3-point landing in this particular airplane. I mean, it's a very, very large wing. It still wants to continue to fly once you try to put it down on the ground. So I guess the helpful tip that I would offer up to everyone is that once you make contact with the runway, while you are continuing to maintain that good speed, somewhere around 50, as soon as you hear the tires, you know, squeak when they hit the runway, you're going to want to apply some forward pressure on the stick. You don't want to be overly aggressive with it, but you do want to push the stick forward to discourage the plane from continuing to want to fly. All right, we've got marker beacon here beeping at us with the audible. Okay, let's make a turn here. Excuse me. It's allergy season here in the Carolinas. All right, so we're going to make a downwind here for runway 32. And we will continue our turn. Yeah, runway 32 is a little bit shorter. It's 6,372 feet. And I believe all of them are the same width. I think they're all 137 feet wide. Okay, so the other thing that is most disconcerting to student pilots that are operating in and out of this airport back in the day are these tank farms that are over off my 11 o'clock. So this is a major gasoline bulk breaking point and also natural gas. So I remember it was probably the second time that I flew out of KGSO. I just remembered, you know, coming in on approach over the top of this tank farm, being paranoid about, you know, making sure that I didn't get anywhere close to stall speed, with a mental picture of becoming human barbecue kind of dancing in my head. So my flight instructor had fun with that for quite some time. And I was not close to stall speed. So that was definitely a learning opportunity for me operating the aircraft. All right, so we are proceeding back over to runway 32 here. We're going to turn base here in just a minute. And this is actually a beautiful part of the city. It's very green. Still not overly developed, as you can see. Lots of green things still growing here. All right, so we've had a little bit of a flyabout. It's the water tower at Guilford College. So we've got some work to do to get ourselves back into proper orientation for our approach. Alright, so we are well within the range for being able to drop flaps. So we'll go ahead and start working those down. And I'm going to go ahead and get my trim set to trim up. I'm trying to trim up. There we go. Having a little bit of issue with my controller here. Alright, so I think I've got things situated the way I wanted them with my trim. Flaps are at 10. I'm going to go ahead and take them to 20. And I believe 962-ish feet is the altitude for the airport. We've still got some altitude to burn off, and we need to continue slowing down here. Alright, so now we're at flaps 30. And we're zoning in now on a better runway picture here. And flaps 40. Alright, let's see how well we do here. So this is an aircraft that you do need to fly a lot in order to be able to make your landings as smooth as they need to be. But very, very similar in terms of, you know, landing a DC3, right? So you do want to put it on the main gear first. Don't want to three-point land this particular airplane because there is flex in those struts, and again, you will have a tendency to bounce. Alright, so we are right at 50 as we continue to make our way down to the runway. And again, once I feel the aircraft, you know, touch down, I'm going to apply some forward pressure on the stick and set it down. We're getting close to stall speed here now. Add a little bit of power. we go, and a little bit of forward pressure. A little bit more bouncy than I would have liked, but not bad. Considering it's been a bit of time since I have flown this bird. Now we're safely back on the ground. Jump back outside here. Get our flaps up. And we'll go down here to this next taxiway, and we'll turn across and taxi over to the general aviation area, and then we will park. So at any rate, if you don't have this aircraft, it is definitely sim-worthy, and it is not very expensive in the marketplace. You happen not to have it. Definitely worth having in your hangar. And it will be available for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Alright, we'll just assume we've already gotten all of our comms taken care of in terms of talking to ground. Getting our taxi clearance. Now those folks are still standing there waiting on their charter. And they're standing there staring at the flying banana, I guess. Love this yellow livery. It's quite charming. Alright, we'll make our way over here to the fuel station. And then we will leave it here. We'll get fueled up and on to the next thing. So if you haven't already done so, please like and subscribe. We'd love to have you along for future activities. We do appreciate you joining the flight today. Hopefully this was an informative bit of news around a marvelous airplane. I'll go ahead and kill the engines here. It's a lot of fun. Again, this is the Carenado Cessna 170B. Available in the marketplace and in other locations in a web store near you. All right, we'll leave it there. Thanks again for joining. Hope everybody is keeping well. Cheers, everybody.